Thanks for staying with us here on The Real Story. We're talking about rideshare drivers, a huge part of our everyday lives. It's all right in our pockets, but those behind the wheel say they're struggling and need state support. Joining me now are Jesenia and Ray, both rideshare drivers, Jesenia in New Haven and Ray in Hartford. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
So, Ray, I'm going to start with you. Tell me a little bit about how you got into driving and maybe what you wish people knew about this work.
Okay, I was driving since I was 16 years old, so, I kind of like driving,
Right.
And I figure, well, it's a decent way to earn a living,
Yeah.
But not everybody realizes what the drivers go through. There's so many things like, okay, they would send you there and they tell you have 5 minutes waiting on the passenger, and they tell you you're being paid to wait. And this trip is a $3 trip. So where is the pay that you're being paid to wait?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you find like they treat you like an employee, but they say to you that you're a contractor. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you realize you're an employee that they don't want to be responsible for.
Yeah.
So it's tough, and it's getting tougher. Like I said before, in another interview, I can remember last year they used to give us $18 to go to the airport. Now it's down to 11 and 12.
Wow.
The prices of gas is going up, yet the price of the trips are going down. You speak to drivers who doing this 7, 8 years, they would say to you, hey man, I used to go out there 5 hours and I would make $200. Now drivers are literally sleeping in their cars, living out of their cars to make $100 and something. 13, 14, 15 hours. So as time go by, it's getting worse. I like driving, but it's hard to drive under stress.
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, you're angry with these guys because, get to a stage where you think it's kind of disrespectful. 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we're getting $3 rides.
Right.
$3 rides. So, you're angry.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
And Jesenia, tell me, for you, how did you get into driving? And is there anything else that, maybe Ray didn't mention that you'd like to add in about what you wish people knew?
I would like to drivers to know that they saying that we are independent and contractor, but if you literally look at it, we are not, because we have to do what they tell us what to do. And they always switching. If they say they're gonna pay this, and then they switching, they're gonna pay lower amount. I started doing Uber 7 years ago. I started college. I went back to college, and then I told myself, how am I going to support myself? So this is how I started everything in Uber.
Right.
7 years ago, it was amazing. I could have made my money on that time. But now, in order for me to support my family and to make that money that I have to make, we have to be out there 12, 14, 16 hours. I can't do that. I have a family. And it's drivers out there, like my friend right here, Ray, he was saying that it's drivers sleeping in cars.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
I think we should have a normal living, and getting paid right, not no $2, $3 right.
And so the legislative session here in Connecticut just started last week at the state capitol, and this has been an issue that's been brought up. Other states have passed laws with protections for rideshare drivers. We'll start with you, Jesenia. What do you want to see from lawmakers? What are you asking from them at the Capitol?
So we actually asking for, we want them to understand our struggle. We serving to their community.
Right.
And I want them to understand that we need higher pay. We also asking for transparency, and then we also asking for reciprocity, and then we also asking for deactivation. They are deactivating our drivers without no reason.
Okay.
And this is not even right because they're living from that.
Yeah. And Ray, can you tell me a little bit more about that reciprocity and the deactivation?
Yes, they would, they would deactivate a driver for apparently no reason, without giving you a reason.
Okay. So it's basically like losing your job, right?
That's right.
Okay.
With no reason.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough. It's like you're between a rock and a hard place. So, it's like, I can't wait to see and speak to the Mr. Matt Ritter, the House Speaker, as a Hartford residents. It is so important that we get this right. Because now look at New York. New York sued Lyft and Uber, and they had to pay $328 million. That's a few weeks ago. And you would think these guys would learn from that and try to, make it a little more better for the drivers in other parts of the country. But they continue to do the same thing. And it's getting to me. Like, why?
And
Why you got to fight all the time?
right. And state lawmakers tried to have a bill with protections for rideshare drivers and app workers last year in the state legislature, but it didn't make it across the finish line.
Yes.
You're saying you want them to consider that again this time around. You brought up transparency. We've heard from rideshare drivers that part of the issue, and you both mentioned it, is with knowing how much companies like Uber and Lyft are actually taking out of your pay and out of your tip, because right now they can take an unknown percentage, correct?
There you go. Because look, last year, the older drivers will tell you they used to pay, they will give you like $140 to New York. Now they're offering you $66 and $70 to New York. Your gasoline is $35. It's a 4-hour going back and forth. So you're driving 4 hours for $30. You know what I'm saying? So it's harder and harder.
I would like to mention something that he's spoken about. New York. Us drivers in Connecticut, when we go all the way to New York and bring a customer out there, right now they are offering to the JF Kennedy from New Haven $52. So that's going in there. They saying that they paying the tolls, but you literally have to pay everything. And it doesn't make any sense, $52, me going all the way to New York, paying gas. In case if I have to stop somewhere because I need to take a break, right? And then also to coming back, we also need to come back empty without nothing. Yes. So literally we're staying with what, we're like $10 in our pocket. Yes. So 4 to 6 hours of our time going to New York and coming back it doesn't make any sense.
I've met a driver who said to me, he went to New York and drove 6 hours. It took him.
Wow.
And when he got back here, he got $40. That's what he made for 6 hours. So you see, there's a lot of false advertising. They tell you, oh, a driver could make $20, but there's no guarantee with that.
Right.
Because you can sit there and if you don't get a ride, you can't make money. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's real false advertising, and you got to put the hours in.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that they be taking from a 50-60% of our pay, and then so what customer doesn't know is that how much do they paying us,
right?
And so we only get like I would say probably like a 1% of customer who tips us, and the other customer, they think they we are getting paid good, but when we're not, because they paying over $100 going all the way to New York, and we literally getting less than 50%.
Right, the customer doesn't know how much of that $100 is actually going to their driver.
Right.
Yes.
And sometimes some customer might ask, how is this job? You guys, and then you say to them, okay, how much you paid for this trip?
Right.
So one guy said, I paid $36 for this trip. Well, Lyft was offering me $12 and change.
Right.
And he couldn't believe it, so I showed him on the app. I said, look, current ride, because it comes up. He's like, Everybody actually cannot believe it.
Right.
How the small amount they're giving us. Now we're doing the job, we're providing all the raw materials and everything. They're just collecting a phone call and send a quote. How can they get more money than us? This thing, like I said, it didn't start it out that way. But like over the years, these guys, I don't know, they got greedier. One guy even said they give the politicians, they've made a lot of great contributions so they can continue to do what they're doing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so, and then I saw one guy posted up that they had an Uber. I think he makes 24 million a year. That's 2 million a month. That's off the drivers. With no drivers, he can't make that. So how can you make 2 million a month and you're paying people less than some weeks? Some weeks my groceries, or my take home is under 200. Sometimes it's 200.
Well, Ray, Jesenia, unfortunately we're out of time, but thank you both so much for being here and sharing your stories.
That's what I want to say something about the.
Well,
oh my God,
this
yes.
definitely a continuing conversation, and I'm sure we'll be speaking more again in the future as you guys are here at the Capitol and speaking with lawmakers. But thank you both so much for being here with us.
Oh my God, I didn't mention something about the Capitol, but it's fine. It went quick.
I know it goes really fast. Well, thank you,
great.
thank you both so much. That does it for us here now on The Real Story. But if you want to watch these segments again, you can head to fox61.com or download the free Fox 61 News app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61 or streaming on Fox 61 Plus. Have a great rest of your morning.